Bitcoin, the best Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining our Bluzelle and Crypto.com live video AMA today. My name is Maggie. I'm the head of marketing at Crypto.com, and I'll be hosting for today's live stream. Joining us is Pavel Bains, the CEO of Bluzelle. I'm personally a fan of Bluzelle because they have been around for, I think, more than 4 years for now, and they have been very focused on solving one problem in the blockchain world. And I like the description on the website in particular. As developers continue to build Dapps, relying on centralized databases by AWS, Microsoft, and the others is a centralized point of failure. The freedom requires the full stack to be decentralized and not just one part of it. And Bluzelle exactly is doing that by developing a decentralized database solution for all of the DDApps developers. And lately, they have been generating a lot of traction. Looking at their long list of partners from mainstream banking and insurance companies to lately, such as a major partnership announcement with Polkadot, and them exiting the testing phase of their testnet, entering the mainnet. I'm sure today Pavel will have a lot to unpack to us. Earlier this week, we have been collecting questions from the community, and the Bluzelle team has selected about 20 or so for Pavel to address today. If your address has been selected for today's stream, you will have won a share of the prize pool, which will be paid out in their token BLZ. So without further ado, let's welcome our guest, Pavel.
Hi, Maggie.
Hey, thanks for joining us today. And before we dive in answering all of the questions submitted by our community members, would you like to start off with an introduction of yourself and Bluzelle to us?
Yeah, so as you know, I'm Pavel, co-founder, CEO of Bluzelle. We are a decentralized database. We came out a few years ago, primarily working in the banking industry, doing blockchain work, and built a number of smart contract insurance platform, KYC platform. Did it for HSBC, OCBC, some of the bigger banks in Southeast Asia. And when we were building it, we realized there's a problem where we're storing all the data. It was on a traditional database. And that's when we realized that Dapps are taking off, Ethereum was taking off. It said, well, there's a critical layer in the infrastructure that needs to be solved. And it was, how do we make the database decentralized so it's much better for all these Dapps? And that's what gave us that focus for the last few years.
Great. It's funny to hear that because I was actually in the insurance space in Asia for 7 years before I joined crypto space. So when I was researching about projects, so just reading some of the household names that you have been partnering with is actually truly impressive. So let's start answering the questions from the community. The first couple of ones are pretty much about what Bluzelle is about. Let's start. So the first question, the first question is, what is your long-term vision for the industry in which Bluzelle is targeting? And more particularly, can you describe why we should choose Bluzelle over the others?
Yeah, so it's hard because we're infrastructure, so the industry can be anybody. It's really about the Dapps blockchain world. So what we're trying to do is really be projects. So what you touched on earlier is that you're only as decentralized as your stack is. So if part of your stack is, most of it's decentralized and all of a sudden, or part of it is decentralized, let's say you're building on Ethereum, but your file storage, your data storage, everything else is centralized, well then it's not really decentralized because that could be turned off, it could be shut down, and as regulatory bodies come in, who knows what can happen. So our real focus is that as Dapps progress and get better, they need more, their stack will need to be decentralized. So our vision is that we become the go-to layer of the decentralized world. So when people think of the traditional world, think of Oracle as a database, MongoDB. Well, in this new one, we want Bluzelle to be that spot. And going back to the sectors, we'll probably touch on it later today. The biggest use case right now, obviously, the one that's working, the subsector and the whole place is really finance oriented.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thanks for the answer of the first part of the question. So move on to the second part of the question is, I'm sure that Bluzelle is not the only one trying to solve this problem. And there are a couple of other players trying to develop decentralized database solutions as well. How is Bluzelle different from the others who are also trying to contribute into solving this issue?
Most of the time, the one that everybody always comes up with is how is it different from Filecoin? And first thing I want to address with everybody is that we're not Filecoin is file storage. We're data, so it's two different things. It's like comparing Dropbox with, let's say, MongoDB, two different use cases. So with Filecoin, we're actually complementary. So as dApps get built, let's say somebody builds a decentralized Instagram. Well, they'll store the files. The pictures would be on, let's say, Filecoin. The data and the metadata behind it for all the users, information, location, that would be on Bluzelle. So they actually work together.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing people always kind of they group it together, like we're against each other, but it's really we're complementary and together. The other part, the main competitor or other choice is, I would say, Arweave. That's a big one out there right now. The main difference between us is they're focused on permanent web storage. Like anything that's created is immutable and will be there permanently. Ours it's a decentralized database, it's validated, but it is mutable. That means it can be written over. Now, the reason we did that is almost any database out there or product, anybody building, they don't intend for that data to stay there forever unless it's a certain specific use case. Most data needs to be overwritten after a number of years. So that's how we made it for that market instead. So different target markets, but also just like in the traditional world that everybody's used to, you can have multiple databases out there working for different segments.
Great. So talking about database, which is like about data storage, not file storage, and security naturally is a very important area. How does Bluzelle work on this aspect to safeguard the security side of the solution?
Yeah, the big thing is, and this is what the benefit of a database like Bluzelle over centralized ones. We have a big validator network that not only provides storage to the network so people can have the data stored decentralized, but they're also validating all the transactions. So we are actually running on Cosmos Tendermint so that anytime, so let's say, Maggie, you have an email list that you're storing somewhere and you update it. Well, our entire network of validators will make sure that Maggie was a rightful owner who requested that change. Everybody agreed and made that happen. So this way, no outside party can come in and hack into it, change data that somebody's reading and manipulate it. It's all basically censorship resistant, approved because of that strong validator network behind it.
And so you touched on that you guys are building on Cosmos and Tendermint. I think a lot of people are interested in understanding the reason why choosing Cosmos and Tendermint over the others.
There's two reasons. So main one is throughout 2019, most of the time we were working on our own consensus engine and, focusing on it. And every time we took, let's say, 3 steps forward, all of a sudden we had to take 2 back because something else happened. And this became a constant cycle. And then we realized that we're not really the best at this. We're really good at the developer layer, the database, building modules on top. Why are we spending so much time on the consensus engine? And by that time, Tendermint was out, it was battle tested, proven, and our engineers kind of researched it and said, if we use this will solve a lot of our problems. And that will actually allow us to focus on the database and the modules that we want to focus on. So that was the one, is that it was just a better product and saved us time. Second is because they're in an interoperable blockchain and they're having IBC, the inter-blockchain communication protocol, come out. That means if we connect to them and all the other blockchains connect to IBC, we've instantly become available to all those other blockchains. So that means instead of us, let's say, like our goal is all blockchains use Bluzelle as a database. So we're connected to Ethereum. So let's say next it was, I don't know, Algorand. We'd have to build a bridge to that. Then, Elrond, bridge to that. But if everybody's connected to IBC through Cosmos, now we don't have to build bridges to anybody. We just have to be connected to IBC and everybody else is there, and now we can be used.
Great. The next question is more about the founding team of Bluzelle. What is that has brought the founding member of Bluzelle together to work on this project and start this journey of about 4 years plus now? And what sort of momentum and team chemistry that you have experienced and witnessed so far?
Yeah, we just came, we got together, my co-founder Neeraj and I in Vancouver, just kind of discovered blockchain around the same time. And we had mutual acquaintances connected us. And we thought, hey, instead of over engineering and thinking of the perfect thing to make, let's just get started. And what we really did was at that time was we just started doing small projects for people who want to use a blockchain, like, whether it was a wallet, it was doing some stuff with Ripple, and just kind of cutting our teeth on it. And we just had this mutual love for the space, particularly blockchain. And then from that, it kind of just guided us that, hey, Vancouver, Canada wasn't really the place we thought it was growing. Banks were kind of behind. And we thought Asia would be a good place. If it works, it'll go there first. So that's when we kind of moved from Vancouver to Singapore. And fortunately, we, networked well and got an opportunity to start working with some KPMG and all the banks and insurance companies that you mentioned. And then, like I said, that kind of made us go deeper into the database side. So I think our backgrounds of having a mutual passion for it, we were both from the video game space, both are kind of outgrew, got tired of media and entertainment, and just had real, passion for this space and what it was doing.
So from a founding team of 2, so how big is the Bluzelle team right now?
We're at 10 now.
Okay.
So yeah, mainly engineers and marketing and operations. And yeah, I think it's been a good size. We've been at that for, the bulk of this year. And we kind of like that. It's growing in this space. It's just grow big too fast, things fall apart. We found that being at a smaller, a more compact size like that, we've been executing really well over the last 6 months, and we want to slowly then bring people on.
Well, it certainly doesn't feel like a team of 10, if you ask me. So I think we now get a much better understanding of what Bluzelle offers in the blockchain space. Let's move on to talk a little bit about your token. So my understanding is that you've got 2 tokens on your ecosystem. Why don't we start by telling us a little bit more about the role of each token and how does it support the Bluzelle network?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we have the main token, the ERC20, that's on crypto.com now, is BLZ. So that's really what we did. Everybody trades, knows, uses right now. BNT, the Bluzelle native token. Now that's really internal. Now the reason we use that is when customers are using Bluzelle as a database and having all those transactions go through of their data, if we were validating that on Ethereum each time, it'd be too slow for a database because it only can do so many confirmations and the costs. By having our own native token internally, it's almost like a credit system that person takes their Bluzelle tokens, stakes it into the system, parks it, and now all of a sudden they have the Bluzelle native token, which is within the main net, and just processes all the transactions, gives all the rewards at a 10,000 transactions per second, really low gas fees. And so then when the person wants to exit and say, let's say, sell that token or earn their reward, it automatically converts to BLZ, and then they can take that onto exchanges. So it was really about speed and efficiency for our end customers to use.
So when you say internal, you're referring to only when there are users or validators who are contributing to Bluzelle network that there is utility side of needs for the BLT. Or do you mean that actually Bluzelle has absolute control of all of the BLT tokens? Why don't you elaborate a little on that?
It's BNT, Bluzelle Native Token.
Yeah.
And no, we don't have control over those. It's really, let's say, Maggie, you came on and you want to be a validator and you want to stake on it. So your BLZ would get locked in a wallet that you have control over. We'd issue BNT to your Bluzelle wallet and you stake that, and you can transfer it. It's used for operations. And then when you say, hey, you know what, I actually want to exit and get my BLZ so I can trade it or sell it on an exchange, that same wallet will just exchange it back to BLZ and with all the extra amounts that you have, and you can go on your way.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
The next question, I think, to a lot of our users on crypto.com who are really active traders, is about the value and the potential of your BLZ token. Can you tell us a little bit more about the motivation and benefits for investors to hold on to Bluzelle tokens in long term? What are your plans for the next 6 months or so to attract users to build further on BLZ?
The main thing is, if people are in this space, they're really betting on or investing into the future of all the Dapps that can come in. So if you're actually believing that Dapps are going to go, all these DeFi products are going to grow, they're going to get more customers, potentially regulations are going to come in and they're going to want, more things around data. And as people grow, they're going to want to do more with the data on it, like run analytics, artificial intelligence. So you need sophisticated database systems. So if you actually believe all this stuff will happen in the future, then you have to know that a decentralized database is going to be really critical. It's just like if you're at the beginning of, the internet cloud systems 20 years, 15 years ago when they were taking off, and people knew that everything's moving to the cloud, and they need databases to be on the cloud to support these products. Then if you believe in mobile apps as the future and cloud applications, then you need to focus on cloud infrastructure as well. So that's where the main thing is that. So if you believe Dapps are the future and decentralized apps, then you need to believe the decentralized infrastructure is the future, and Bluzelle is a critical pillar of that. So that should be the biggest motivation.
Well, I'm a true believer in that. And I think that also leads us to the next set of questions just perfectly well on partnerships and adoption. Because at the moment, like we're observing all of the hype of DeFi and the launch of different dApps and whatnot, seems to me that I think what Bluzelle plays as a role for offering decentralized database just fit perfectly into this picture. So at the moment, on your website, you claim that you guys offer about like 10,000 transactions per second, right? So what sort of real use cases or what sort of dApps are really partnering with you guys the most at the moment?
Yeah, the big ones are going to be finance related. I mean, that is still the first use case of blockchain is the best use case, which is money related. So as those dApps that are DeFi, finance related applications grow, like I said, there's much. So in the traditional world, when you build financial platforms, they use a NoSQL database for a number of things like MongoDB. So we're that equivalent here. And really it's around, customer management, being able to read data really quickly. You can do different customer reviews, all these financial trading platforms can do. So the same things that they're doing, we will be able to, as the system grows and more users come on, by using Bluzelle, they can have those same type of features, and which will end up, like right now, the user experiences are pretty simple. Come in, trade, lend, go away. As the operators of those projects, they're going to start wanting to have more analytics, a better user experience, give more things to do, and at that you'll need more robust databases to handle those type of functionality. And so that's where Bluzelle plays a role. So finance is a big one. The other ones we see is media and entertainment, specifically, let's say around, could be, let's say, gaming. As Bluzelle, we can allow for better inventory management if somebody's playing a game, chat messaging would be faster, a really good use case on there. So there's a number of things that NoSQL databases like Bluzelle do in the gaming world, and we can do that better being a decentralized version of it. Third would be probably like, it can be e-commerce related that we identified, but that'll come later because I think Dapps aren't ready for that, but that will be where you can do better inventory management of the products coming in and out and buying, selling experience with a database like Bluzelle. So I say we start with finance, then move to media, and then it'll go to the e-commerce shopping side.
Great. And I read about the announcement of your partnership with Polkadot. And lately, Polkadot has been generating a lot of traction. The tokens is trading top 10 on CoinMarketCap, and such exciting news. And I think it really helps on building your profile and help more people understand the real use case of Bluzelle as well. Care to elaborate a little more about the partnership and exactly what you're doing with them?
Yeah, it was exciting. It was, I mean, we did launch our test net in April, May, June. We're trying to build aggressively test a number of things out with the product, validators, with the community, built it all really well up during that time. Towards end of June, Polkadot reached out and said, hey, we like what you're doing. It solves a core problem. How would you guys like to, work on the Polkadot platform? And for us, that was really good because, like I said, our goal is to be interoperable and be available to all blockchains. So if we're with Cosmos on one side, and then we could be with Polkadot, we almost have everything covered, and it will, for the future, saves us a lot of time and energy. And they can say to all their projects that, hey, we've got a core decentralized database that all you Polkadot projects that are on here, go to Bluzelle, use that. And so it's really good to be part of, that next ecosystem that's growing really well. And, a lot of the developer activity is moving there. So we just see it as another cornerstone that we need to be part of right there, just like how Cosmos and Ethereum are.
Great. The next question is on another partnership project that you have with Matic. How did Bluzelle connect and cooperate with Matic? And where is the common ground for both sides in terms of future development on the Bluzelle platform?
With the Matic, yeah. So Matic, I've known Sandeep, the COO, for a couple of years. Always in contact, sharing ideas. And then as we were going through our incentivized testnet phase, Swarm of Duty, earlier this year, and we're moving along there, we're always in contact. And one of the key things was, hey, we need to get more developers building on our platform and starting working on things. And Matic had a program going where they're working with developers to start building on Matic so they can do, highly scalable transactions over Ethereum. So we had that in common, and we thought, hey, if people are building things on Ethereum and Matic, it'd be good for them, obviously, to have a decentralized database behind it. So that meshed up really well with them. Second was that, hey, by together, we can actually get more developers building cooler things, because then that thing is like, hey, build with Matic, build with Bluzelle, you can get rewarded with a bigger grant. And it just encourages more of the ecosystem building, because, all of the stuff that we're doing, everybody, trading and the system that's being made, if we don't have enough projects and developers encouraged to come on and build killer applications, then we're not going to grow aggressively. So because us and Matic were really aligned well with that thinking, it was a good way to us to partner up really at the developer level.
While I think your very clearly defined proposition in the industry has attracted amazing partnerships and projects to collaborate with, the next question from the community would like to further understand about your marketing approach and how do you draw new users, and how do you keep your name really visible and exposed to the crypto community. As before we started this AMA, we're just chatting how quickly the space is moving, and it seems like staying relevant is what every crypto marketer is scratching their head on every single day.
It's, I love it in that sense. Like, I came from the video game world. So I used to work for Disney did projects with Electronic Arts, Microsoft. Then I had done a children's book publishing platform before this, and we had done books for Batman, Snoopy, DreamWorks characters. So work with all these licenses. And so it was interesting in that even though we're a database and infrastructure B2B company, which is all new to me, the marketing efforts that we realized this year is like it's very consumer focused. So it allows us to be creative. So I think it's something that you've never seen before. So, doing our testnet phase, we want to make sure that it's something brandable that everybody can understand. So instead of calling just a testnet, we called it Swarm of Duty. And the reason of that was because Bluzelle operates on different swarms that mingle together that allows it to be efficient. And then Call of Duty had just come out. So we're like, hey, Swarm of Duty is a nice campaign that we can just keep going around and allowed us to track validators, community projects right away. And then the public community, the token holders got really interested in that and started building things around. So that was really good. So that kind of tested that out and allowed us that. So now from there in July, we said, okay, we got to do, this is what's really working well. So I don't think you're in this space. It's not just one strategy that works. It's not like traditional companies that B2B channels and in biz dev, you have to do everything at the same time.
Yes.
So we were able to foster with our community by building an ambassador program. So we call them the Bluzelle soldiers, the BLZ soldiers. So they're out there getting our content. They're able to make quick videos and from infographics, and they can, basically keep anything that we put out or new things and just build something around it and just have digestible content that people can use. So we can't, like you said, we can't do everything in-house ourselves. Then so that's one part, is that community side. The other way to reach developers, we can't do this on our own and hold hackathons and run those all the time. Work with, like we did with Gitcoin, and we want to do more stuff with them where they know their community well, they know the developers, we've established ourselves, do more programs with them. That allows us to get those developer channels coming in, give some grants, building stuff, and then we use our own internal tools to showcase those projects. Like recently we had somebody create a messenger app and also create a notary app, and that gives more improvisation or motivation to other people to build. So you have the developer side, the community side with the soldiers, then work with good partners like yourselves and companies that you talked about like Polkadot, that they can leverage us to other projects that are similar minded like Matic, and we just build off our own community. So really, I think that's the main thing, is you got to have the ground level support, the guerrilla guys on the ground, on social media and everything, doing the work. Do the B2B partners like Gitcoin that can specialize on developers, good distribution partners like, crypto.com and exchanges, doing work with them. And then the like-minded customers, partners that we have similar communities, and just expand it. And you have to have that entire thing going always, not just one. And I guess and also being creative and doing fun stuff on our own that people go online, they don't want to see depressed things every day that they've had for the past year. They want to see some stuff that's fun. And just because we're crypto companies, or really maybe what people would say nerd technology, we can still have fun with it. And I know this is off tangent, but this is what I like about some of the DeFi farming and things like that. Like, the sites they build are really fun, innovative. It's like, yeah, why do banks and finance fintech platforms have to be boring and look like that? Why can't you have cool anime characters and make people smile, right? That's all they want.
Well, good point. And as every marketer's dream to be in this space where you can just go totally out of the box and the community can really receive it well. And I do have to give some credits to your BLZ army, because since we announced the AMA, I've been tagged many times by them on Twitter. Means like they're working hard out there, which is
nice job, guys.
So let's move on to talk about something that we have to talk about, which is DeFi, right? The hype is sustaining. It has been a few months so far. I think we touched on that a little bit more, but what do you think the key role Bluzelle is playing riding on this momentum of DeFi right at the moment, and what is the main focus that you guys are putting the most resources and effort on?
Yeah, good question. So as DeFi grows and explodes, like I said, they're going to need better ways to manage data and do things around it. And so they'll need a decentralized database, especially if regulatory comes in over the next couple of years, right? You're definitely going to want a database like ours. But that would be long tail. But before that, what we did was, and we announced it, was my CTO Neeraj actually worked on this in January, and we've been working on it, is making an extension of our database by providing decentralized oracles. So that's where we see that a lot of DeFi projects are going to want 2 or 3 oracles to confirm all pricing. And with Bluzelle, because it's built on a database and we have validators out there, we can actually build a very robust oracle network. So what that means is, if our validators are already allowing for data to be stored, they're validating transactions, we're like, why don't we just give you another job to earn on? And that is go there and get a price feed, retrieve it. It goes through our 5-step mathematical algorithm to basically come to a good price that everybody used. Then that gets stored onto our database. So we're making use of our actual database. And so customers who come on there, they're basically going to get much faster intervals. We can update them much quicker than anybody else. You will be able to also get, because we have the database behind it and we can allow for the history of the database to sit, just like if I go to, look up the stock price of Microsoft, I can easily get the history of it tabled in front of me. We can have history of index prices. And with that, you can actually do statistical analysis on it. And this could allow for better decision-making and actually more around security, that if something's under attack and they run an analysis on our index of prices and what's in band, out of band, I'm getting really complex here. But the real thing is they can get advanced warning that something looks off with what somebody's trying to do and manipulate a price. And they can basically hit some trigger warnings and shut it down.
It sounds like the potential for Bluzelle network to offer Oracle like the pricing feeding can be even more impressive than some of the existing projects, because you also offer the decentralized database solution.
Yeah, and that's how we saw it. Whether it was a natural extension, it was just growing from what we already have and said, hey, why don't we do this? And here's how we can fit in. And so far, it's getting really good traction. We'll be announcing in the next week some more early customers and projects, specifically on Polkadot and other ones that are saying, hey, we want to start using this.
Great to hear. The next question is more about your personal view on the trend of DeFi. Where is it going? What you think is the biggest flaw or limitations DeFi is facing at the moment? And then riding on it, is there another new problem that you have just added to Bluzelle's team to try to solve from what you're
I think DeFi is awesome. Like, I mean, when I first came across it about 1.5 years ago, when MakerDAO was doing it, and that concept of, wait, I can, lend my assets, get money on it, watch that appreciate, and I've got no middleman, that just kind of blew my mind, how that worked. And even that simple concept I explained to people who aren't even into the space. They were just like blown away from that. So I think what's happening now is we're just basically creating our own financial system. And even though everybody's like really hyped up and going crazy, the thing that we can remember is that at least these products are actually being used, compared to, let's say, 3 years ago, when a lot of our stuff was experimental. We're still trying to figure it out. What will work, won't work. At least we have a really good use case where people are excited by and using the products on a daily basis. So no matter what happens now, with if it's too hyped and if it slows down, but this is really I think DeFi is going to power everything through the next wave of crypto. When it comes to problems, I think the big thing is, it's moving so fast that all our heads are kind of spinning on what's safe, what isn't, what can you do. And then with that is, it's still got that ways to way, like some people are just still figuring out how to buy Bitcoin, and then to basically go like, hey, this is how you stake your assets, and you can get things in other places. That's going to be pretty complex. But to me, the easiest thing that once go mainstream is, I explained to my brother, and they're seeing now, because of COVID, like inflation is going to go up, printing of money, their banks aren't giving them any return. So if you can just even say that, hey, move some of your US dollars or your to stable coins and you can get, forget about even the 12, 13%, you can get 5%. I think that alone will draw a lot of people once we can make it easy for them to come on board. And that's where you can see a lot of things take off.
Yeah, I think you reminded me on what I observed back in 2017 is like how we review a project is by the white papers, right? Right now we review a project by actually trying out the platform, and I think that's a very healthy evolution within just like 3 years of time frame, and not to like. I think it's important also to remind the community that every industry would take through the cycle of like building up the hype and then some natural correction, and we're not excluded from that, but just like every other industry, I'm as excited as most of the people as well.
I mean, touching on that, it's a good, I mean, what you said there, sorry, it's like in 2007 to 2012, you know how many social networks popped up that just died off like with nothing? And you know, it's crazy. I remember there was this one for families that came out. I really liked it. It was called Pass, and you know, it was VC funded by a lot, but nobody was really using it. And then they ended up just like selling the user data or some information, and had some big Brazilian company just come along and buy it, but nobody was using the product. So to people say like certain things happen in crypto and this and that, and these projects die off. It's like, well, whenever a new industry or sector takes off, you're always going to have things come up and some die off. And social networks are no different. There were hundreds of them 10 years ago.
E-commerce as well, and I think is a very important reminder for us to cut through the noises, especially because we have to spend a lot of time working really hard in the industry every day. So, okay, let's move on to ask a couple of questions about your development and product, etc. The first one is about COVID. How has COVID been affecting you guys in a good way or in a bad way? Because as you just mentioned, right, like we actually have attracted a new influx of users because they're so worried about the value of traditional fiat currency. How has COVID been affecting you one way or the other?
It's weird. It's like, I think probably most crypto companies like this. I mean, you're a good example. We're also used to working online and decentralized. So when everything was like, hey, work from home, you got to do this or that, it wasn't that big of a change for crypto companies. For us, the benefits were we started operating on a tighter schedule in the sense that we don't know what's going on in the world. Who knows what's going to happen? So instead of thinking of 12-month roadmaps and all these crazy long-term visions, what I did was I'm just operating on 90-day cycles now. What do we think is going to happen in the next 90 days? Let's build towards that. Let's be flexible and just get in from April on, our thing was, let's just get in a system where we're just releasing and producing on a consistent basis. That'll build momentum, and forget about, like I said, a 2-year roadmap. Let's just get the thing that needs to be done in the next 90 days and have people coming on, using it, and just keep working with that. So that worked well. I think in a weird way, you know, not having to travel like so many crypto conferences that we all used to go to, it's bad, but we realize now that we just mainly went there to just hang out, meet with people, catch up. Anything we want to hear or ideas, everybody's sharing so much information now online that it's like, well, what's my point of going to a conference and sit down and listening to somebody when the communities are so open? And I'm pinging people all the time, like, what are you trying here? What are you trying there? And you and I discussed this earlier, that sharing of information has just gotten tighter and more efficient because of COVID. So really weird. I think the crypto companies are actually using it to an advantage to just, you know, be more efficient and effective in a bizarre way.
I totally agree with you. I think even like within crypto.com, I think the last 6 months is where we moved fastest for years. And I think it's because that's truly the essence of what crypto space is. And we're just like really amplifying right now. Though I still would like to ask you, I know we're just looking at a 90-day cycle. I still would like to ask you, what are the key milestones that you're looking to achieve for the remaining more than 90 days or so for the rest of 2020?
Yeah, the main thing is finish up get our mainnet fully live. We're releasing it in stages, so I want the final stage, done pretty quickly in the next few weeks. So it's because we broke down our mainnet into soft mainnet, hard mainnet, and separate substages, so making things more automatic, making sure everything's secure. So that's a big thing, is deliver that. Second is have the first version of the Oracle's product to showcase within the next month as well. So we can show mainnet's out, the Oracles are out there, and really with those two in place is getting the first batch of customers actually using it by the end of the year. So those are the big things that we want.
Great. The next question is more for our community members. So if they would like to be part of the BLZ community, want to contribute to your project, what can they do, and what sort of benefits from storing the token of Bluzelle networks can they get out of in the long run?
Yeah, so easiest one is obviously, join Twitter, Telegram, follow along, see what's happening. And then, once we open it up again, they can, because we closed it off for now because we had too many, is they can join the ambassador program, the BLZ soldiers. And that way they get some perks and benefits of doing some of the work. The main thing that we want right now is obviously, hey, take the token, stake it, get other people to start knowing about it, staking it. As we launch new wallets, start using those. But the main thing I think is best thing for us would probably just start bringing more customers and projects that we should be looking at, top of mind, that's saying, hey, check these guys out. We like working with them. Let's say the community is saying, I discovered this project. I think they can benefit from your database. Then it makes our job easier for pipeline of getting more customers and building out that funnel.
Wow, here comes the final question already.
Okay.
As a more personal one, I think, what makes you proud of leading Bluzelle as a leader?
I think now it was really getting through the bear market of 2019, like being able to get through that. We focused a lot on enterprises, and everybody thought that, hey, we got to get enterprises adoption, and this is the whole industry. And you realize that they just weren't ready, and they're not going to be ready for a while. And really, it's within crypto itself, us creating our own community, building it up, and working together is where all the growth is. And that's how you thought DeFi took off. So I think 2019 almost became dispiriting when you're not getting that momentum, not getting that traction. And I think by the end of the year, when we said, let's switch to Cosmos for this part, let's focus on this, let's become leaner, and let's start delivering more things in a smaller time frame, allowed us to go from January to April to launch that test net. Then from April to end of June, do the Swarm of Duty campaign and start building, see that upward trajectory happen again. That made it much more exciting to come out of that. And then basically over the last 2 months, keep building on that. And, now sit down and talk with yourselves. Our community is much bigger. We've kind of just come back with, I think that makes me so more proud of anything, is that survived through that, figured out what we were good at, doubled down, and the team's much more motivated, focused. And that's probably, just being able to deliver on that is probably the proudest thing.
And
not quitting.
Right? Congratulations on the momentum that we're seeing recently. Makes your project a lot more exciting to a lot more people. So thanks so much, Pavel, for your time today and sharing your insights with our community. And bigger thanks to our community for your participation and all of the great questions that we managed to ask Pavel today. Before closing, Pavel, is there any final words you would like to share with our community?
Well, aside from, hey, stay on top of Bluzelle on Twitter or Telegram, just what we're doing, but more, I think, is to the community, anybody out there who's been in this space for the last, couple of years, is, hey, congrats to everybody for sticking through it. You're battle tested. You've been through it. The next cycle of Bitcoin is happening and crypto. This is the time for everything to shine. More people are taking orders. I've had more people message me in the past couple of weeks of, okay, how do I buy Bitcoin now? Because they're all doubting what the current financial system is out there. So it's showing that the momentum is there. It's coming. The herd's coming. So anybody who's on there, good for you. Sticking around, you're going to be rewarded over the next couple of years. That's all I can say.
And I want to leverage your social media analogy earlier on, right? So our goal is to be that social media platform that sticks in a couple of years' time, right? That is the goal that we gotta work towards
Exactly.
as a community. So once again, thanks so much, Pavel. And before the end of it, just as a reminder, if your question has been featured earlier today, that means you have won a share of the Bluzelle token prize pool, and your prize will be deposited to the crypto.com app within 2 weeks or so. And don't forget to follow Pavel on their Twitter networks and also on their Telegram, and also to follow crypto.com and stay informed about our upcoming events and updates. Don't forget to subscribe us on our YouTube channel, where now our live AMA is hosted on. And then until next time.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.